today looks a little different, as whether you're listening or watching, you're only going to hear one voice this time, and that is mine. And in case you did not listen to the intro, which to each their own, my name is Arianna Cruz, and I'm the founder and owner of More Magazine, where we are working to make opportunities reachable for everyone. And as we've grown, we've gotten to do this in a variety of different ways. And most recently, we are celebrating the way that we do that through curating content that educates, inspires, and calls you to action in different ways. And so most recently, as in a week ago, we launched Issue VIII Beauty. I am so thrilled and proud of the way that this has come out. And today, as we continue talking about kind of this thread of sustainability and the way that we sustain ourselves, we're going to talk a little bit about this issue and the way that beauty is intertwined in our lives. And we get to see that exemplified through the content of this magazine, as well as through sharing some of the highlights from our most recent pre-launch happy hour. So I'm gonna share a little bit about what we cover in this issue. We're gonna talk a little bit about the pre-launch happy hour. If you want the full deep dive as to what happened, who spoke, who was there, what we talked about, maybe what you missed out on, unfortunately, or maybe it's reliving it for you. I don't know who every person is watching this, but we are gonna dive deeper on our Patreon and talk about the pre-launch happy hour in depth and kind of share like what you could experience if you were to join our next one. But jumping into it, I'm so thrilled and honored to have had Counterpart return as a partner for this issue. We got to jump into how you find this beauty of trust as an entrepreneur, as someone who founds and organizes an organization, especially one that's mission-centric, and what you are allowed to do when you are able to build trust with another company. And so we talk about the strength in trust. We got to share time with former NFL player Marlin Jackson as we learned from him what he's been able to grow and scale through the Fight for Life Foundation, especially through his social emotional learning program. And as we go further into it, I'm gonna cheat here and use our table of contents, which, can I just talk about how gorgeous and true to themselves everyone is in this issue. This is the first time I'm actually really opening it up and getting to look at it. We got the magazines in the day of our pre-launch happy hour, and so I haven't gotten to spend time and gawk and just admire the work that went into this. I always get to see it from kind of a higher level and learn more about the people who participate and are part of putting it together, but sometimes it takes me a minute to get to see it for all that it is. But I'm gonna use this as my little cheat sheet here as we go through it. Earlier this year, we got to sit down with Nikitha and Shreya from the Passapoop blog, and we talked a lot about South Indian culture and all the ways that we want to see ourselves in the media and how we can grow in our own cultural identity. And so Nikitha returned to us to share her article that is Dancing in Gratitude and Grace, and she talks about how she got to lean into her culture and the confidence and the beauty that came from that experience. Following that article, we got to share time with Stephanie Odell of Celebrate the Gray, a modeling agency that focuses on showcasing women and men with gray hair who are aging beautifully and letting life. And it was really wonderful. We had Hannah Jordan return as an author for us, where she got to interview and share a little bit of self-reflection as she thinks about how she's aging and the mindset she has towards it as we all continue to climb that hill, if you will, of life and the experiences that come with it. We also got to work with a new model, a new writer for us, Angelique Allen. She models professionally, and she reached out to us wanting to share a little bit about how her experience in the beauty industry has been and what it looked like for her to get into it. And so she wrote our piece you're so pretty, you should be a model. And we also had the Rare Wave come back and work with us on photography, as well as Arianna Thompson, who was the creative director. And together they brought this beautiful, beautiful set that was truly just showing Angelique like where she was as she is. And I think there's something so beautiful about meeting people where they are, and I think that's a lot of the community that we work to cultivate, especially at pre-launch happy hours. And so being able to have this beautiful visual story encapsulate one of our writers who is a model as she is, it was so just, I don't want to keep saying beautiful because the theme is beauty, but it was as we are. And I think that there is something so stunning about who we are as we are, and being able to see each other in that light. Another piece that we had is called Of the Beast. For the second time, we got to work with Tiffany Chow, this time in a bit of a different manner. If you read our previous issue, we interviewed her and her husband, as well as the Polished Lady, about the influence that we have online, and specifically from all three of their perspectives as people of influence, of influencers. And this time she came back to us and she was talking about beauty. If you follow me, you'll know that I have eczema. I feel like that is part of my personality at this point. My skin is always dry, I'm nearly always itchy, and I gotta talk about it because, you know, misery loves company, and I normally find somebody else who has eczema to share in my pain with me. And I know for me, something that like is so externally seen, and something that I got so many questions about as a kid growing up. When I first started following Tiffany, she had been very open about sharing about this accident she had been in and the physical scar that it left on her and what that was like. And at this chapter in her life now, she just had her first baby girl, I think a week before we officially launched. And so she was sharing her personal experience, her personal journey of what beauty has been to her. And she talks a lot about how it's hard to appreciate beauty without recognizing the jealousy or envy that can come in that way. And so she wrote the article Of the Beast, addressing both the positive and the negative, and the way we find ourselves to that light, to that self-love through that journey. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece, and I'm honored to continue having the opportunity to work with her. This issue, we also got to partner with Stephanie Garbow. She is the style maven. She is a gem, a delight. I got to meet her officially in person at Style Swap in Maven Space last year, which is also coming up this week, so it would have just happened by the time you're hearing this. But she shared time with us to talk about the fun of getting dressed. And she says, well, she actually asks, who took the fun out of getting dressed? Because especially as women, or as people who are trying to find our identity and figure out who we want to be and how we want to present ourselves in these different settings, in these different moments in our lives, how are we supposed to do all of the things? How do we be professional? How do we feel true to ourselves? How do we be comfortable? How can we wear something that exudes the confidence that we want to be able to share with those around us? And she jumps into how this really can be impactful to your career, to your income, and to all these different pieces that make life. And as a style expert in my book, she does this beautiful job of weaving the story and asking these different questions of what are you prioritizing, and how can you make it so that when you get dressed, you're wearing what you want to wear. Beautiful, beautiful piece. And then we also had the strength and trust piece that we talked about earlier in partnership with Counterpart. Truly this just very cool story where we not only interviewed Marlin, but we also interviewed Lauren Dodgel at Counterpart. She serves as their director of marketing. And I think especially in a space such as tech, where it is something that is so crucial to so many businesses, having a business that you're able to feel like you can trust and lean into and ask all the questions and, you're able to recognize that the next big step of your business is growing in this way that isn't something you can necessarily cross-check or fact-check, because I know for me, like, I don't know a lot about software, and especially building out an app, building out anything beyond a slideshow presentation sometimes feels beyond my wheelhouse. And it was so cool to do this story with a brand that I've gotten to get to know more, and to see the way that they are helping businesses truly level up and scale, because they're able to bridge this gap of, well, how can we make it better? How can it be more innovative? How can we use technology to make our organization better serve those that we're hoping to serve? And it was a very incredible piece, I think, to hear it from both sides, both the business that is providing the service and the business that is opening the doors to what they're building themselves. And one of the last articles that you'll read in this issue is the evolution of secondhand. We had the immense honor of having Chloe Price, our podcast host, return as an author, and she interviewed Anna of Everywhere, as well as Tori of Shop Notorious Vintage. And the two of them are both women business owners in the secondhand style spaces. Anna is using technology as a way to curate your own style profile, your own online closet, if you will, through secondhand. And Tori is building a space to empower other women business owners to share their gift of curation when it comes to secondhand. They talked about the accessibility and sizing and the way that secondhand is able to kind of communicate this timeline of fashion and quality as they go through it. The visuals were so beautiful. I got to meet Christine at the pre-launch happy hour, and she's the photographer of Prickly Pear Photography. And she captures our three models, Lativa, Moira, and Charlie, as they pose in these outfits that do not necessarily fit them or reflect their style. And then with Kendra, they turn these pieces into something that reflects who they are and is of quality. And it was this beautiful way, especially when you see the before and afters, you get to see how the pieces make them feel. And I think that it's this thread as you will read these stories and as we talk a little bit about the programming that we had, that beauty is something you feel. It's something that comes from the inside out. And yes, what you wear is such a big part of that, but I also think it's how you see yourself, it's how you feel. And listen, y'all, I've gotten into the affirmations in the morning and then what you think, how you speak to yourself, like it's all connected. It's all part of this bigger piece of it, you know? And so I think it was so cool to have these before and after photos that really reflected that. And it was absolutely wonderful. So huge kudos to the whole team all around. Okay, now I'm gonna go a tiny bit Mr. Rogers on you, and I will read you a few words from yours truly. This here. Okay. A few words. What a strange thing to be told what is beautiful, what should capture and hold your attention, and what you and I should strive for, be it in life and goals we have for ourselves, how we look, and how we pursue business and relationships. Should always seems to find its way into that dialogue. This theme is often a habit many of us unlearn when we look in the mirror and how we build ourselves. As we continue to make more space for all who we are and all we are growing into, I am in awe of how I get to witness people building each other up and leaning on one another. The older I get, the more I understand just how short life is, and while it's too short for so many reasons, it is most certainly too short to get stuck on the should phrases that do not align with who you hope to be. As ever, it is truly an honor to be a platform and part of a publication that allows us to find connection within one another's voices and experiences. I'm grateful beyond words to have support from each and every reader, each and every launch. Thank you. So, that is Issue VIII, Beauty in a Nutshell. So now we are going to jump in. There's often so many questions that come from, how do you launch a magazine? What does an issue launch look like? And all of these different things. So as we talk about the magazine, I kind of want to touch on a little bit of that. And we don't typically host a launch party. What we do is we host a pre-launch happy hour. I think it sounds fun, and who doesn't love a happy hour? Whether you drink or not, like, give me some snacks and some sugary sips, and I am there. But we host this pre-launch happy hour the night before the magazine officially launches. So the weeks leading up to it, I'm sure you've seen it. We are telling you to pre-order. We're telling you about where you can be with us before the magazine launches. And that way, the day of launch, everyone who's pre-ordered, they're guaranteed a magazine and they are getting it in the mail that day. And so it's part of this really fun kind of building the excitement. And I think it's been so magical to be part of seeing people see themselves in print in this tangible form live at these happy hours. And it's magical. That's the best way I can sum it up. At our Issue VIII pre-launch happy hour, we had so many partners that I am so grateful for. They're part of making the event, and it's been so cool to see that community of companies grow, as well as add their own flair in different ways. And so a couple Thursdays ago, we hosted our pre-launch happy hour at Studio C Arts Collective. Huge shout out to Faith Blackwell. She helped organize the event. One of the artists, Anne, was there, which was wonderful, and that space is also shared with Greta. And these 3 female artists who were previously at the Stutz building have come together in Sobro. If you're from the Indianapolis area, you'll know. If you don't, there is this wonderful area that is just north of downtown Indianapolis, and there's restaurants and shops and this beautiful community of beautiful people and beautiful things. I have gotten to work with the House of Breton, that is not far from where we hosted our pre-launch happy hour. They are actually the designer who did my wedding dress and wedding pants. If you know, you know. If you don't, you can find it online. I posted pictures, not a big deal. But it's just this very, very cool community of people who are working together and doing all of these incredible things. Up the street from Studio C Arts is Breadworks, and they actually provided us with some sweet treats for the evening. We had these yummy donuts and different pastries that just added a little touch of fun and sweetness to the evening. For our sips, we obviously had water, and we had lemonade, and we had a little Fanta to throw it back, but we also had adult spring break. Casey and Kendall, loves of my life. I adore them. And we've also done a founder to founder with them. So if you haven't checked that out, check that out. But they had just launched their espresso teeny, their first canned cocktail. And they had a tasting bar that was, I mean, to the tens. Are you kidding me? Like, they have this so yummy cucumber lime basil vodka drink, which, if you know me, I don't drink vodka. And anytime they are out, I will have at least a glass of that. It is delicious, divine. It is fresh and crisp, and with it being spring and almost summer, that is exactly what my heart desires. And so we had them serving up the drinks. You were able to do a tasting bar, and then you got a drink of your choice based on what you liked the most. We also had Mathis Media hooking us up, helping us with the microphones for the evening, as well as the speakers to, you know, get the party rolling and keeping the dialogue crisp, if you know what I mean. And we also had Leo on the lens. He was phenomenal. And as if you're watching this on YouTube right now or on Patreon, you are seeing different images from the event. Huge shout out to Leo. Thank you so much for sharing your talent with us. It was such a fun evening. And we were joking that it's after the programming that everyone feels ready to pose for photos. And beforehand, everyone's a little camera shy, but you know, after you hear other people talk, you want to talk. And I am so here for it. I love it. I love it so much. And so, in addition to having our incredible partners at the pre-launch happy hour, we also got to have some of our interns come out. And so if you're not familiar, we have the Seek More internship program where we prioritize first year students or people who haven't had an internship yet. And as I was building this business, it was really important to me that we have an internship program that is in line with our mission, and that is making opportunities reachable for everyone. And part of that is making opportunities accessible and helping people to know about them. And so we've had this great partnership with Women in Business on IU Bloomington as well as IU Indianapolis's campuses, where we are working with a lot of women who are pursuing business and looking to get that first step in their career. And we got to have a couple of our interns present for that. And I think the really cool part about our pre-launch happy hours is that we're building this community of people who are all seeking more for themselves and more for the people they love and more for the communities that they're in. And when you have people like that, it creates this space where if somebody's learning or building their own confidence, that it's a space where they can feel comfortable enough to practice their elevator pitch, to practice taking up space and saying who they are and sharing what they hope to do. And maybe there's a way that we can connect and do something together. And it's been so incredible to see our interns in these spaces and see them really own it, because they know that they are part of that evening and they are part of what made it happen. And the pre-launch happy hours are always such a favorite of mine, but I love getting to see people come into their own and step into that confidence and do it in a space that they are part of building and part of creating. So before we wrap up, I am going to share a little bit about, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I have the dogs on the stairs behind me, because I knew they were on the floor, they would be clicking and clacking. Can you think of The Devil Wears Prada when Anne Hathaway is describing the clackers in the court? That click, 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 that would be my dogs. And they're not even in stilettos, and they're not even working for Miranda Priestley, you know? It's a whole thing. But before we wrap up this pod, and I send you guys over to Patreon, I want to give you a little teaser of what you can expect. So in our Dig Deeper, I'm going to jump into the panel that Latifa Woolfork led. She is phenomenal woman and energy. She is the founder of Socially Coordinated PR. She is one of the co-founders of Create Connect Collab, and she is, without a doubt, one of my favorite people to know. She is also one of our cover models for this issue, and so she was the moderator for our panel. Get a close look. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. It's a gorgeous cover. Are you kidding me? And she got to share time with Rose, a past intern who is also the designer of her own clothing brand, No Bias. She also got to share time with Rahima, the founder, owner, CEO of Hijab So Foreign, as well as Brianna Thompson, our creative director, who's worked with us in 2 issues now. And as they spent the evening talking through beauty and their first experience with beauty and the ways that they all integrate beauty and the thought of it into their business, into how they empower and into their daily lives, and understanding their responsibility of what they give and how they receive their own beauty. It's an incredible conversation, and the pre-launch happy hour audience, it was beautiful and vulnerable, and it created this space where the conversations after the panel, it was, I can't put it into words, but I continue to be in awe of the way that personal stories and experiences, when shared out loud, create so many connections. And I was beside myself as I got to continue talking with people after the panel and just getting these little snippets of conversations that people were having, and the ways that so many people were connecting with each other in a way that who knows if they would have connected like that had we not had this intentional conversation in the same space. So if you want to hear more about it, head over to our Patreon. I will link it below. And I hope that you're able to join us for our next pre-launch happy hour. And if you haven't yet, pick up your copy of Issue VIII Beauty. It is available on our website, moremagazine.org/shop, SHOP. And stay tuned as May gets started. We'll be rolling out our interviews with the contributors, with the creative teams, and sharing the readings of the articles if you'd rather listen than read online. And, with that, let's talk more on Monday.